Zoroastrianism, the Religion of the Good Life. Chapter 13, the Zoroastrian Code of Ethics. The fundamental principle of the creed is embodied in the triad Humata, Hukta, Havarshta, good thought, good word, good deed. The antithesis of this triad, which is the sum and substance of all mortality, is Dushmata, Duzukta, Duzvarshta, evil thought, evil word, and evil deed. To all good thoughts, words, and deeds belongs paradise. So it is manifest to the pure. And this is the simple admonition given to the prayer Vispa Humata. In another prayer, the devotee says, henceforth let me stand firm for good thoughts, good words, and good deeds, which must be well thought, must be well spoken, and must be well done. Look at the meme for this video. But remember, by two religion theory, there's surrender and submission unto God, those on the right hand, and becoming a living demon on the left hand, and most people are a mix of the two. Cultivation of civic virtues. Great importance was attached by the ancient Zoroastrians to the training of the youth in civics. They consider it essential so to educate children during their most impressionable days as to deepen their concern for the common good and to stimulate and diffuse a spirit of citizenship. In the Chiropadia, Xenophon gives an interesting account of the schools in Iran in which such training was given, the first of the kind in recorded history. In every Persian city, says Xenophon, is a free square from which commerce and industry are rigorously excluded, and which contains the palace and the chief municipal buildings. On one side is the school for children from 5 to 16. Up to 5, they live at home in the nursery. On the second, the Institute for Youth from 16 to the full manhood of 26. On the third, that for the man of mature years. On the fourth, that for the elders who are past the age of military service. The curriculum is remarkable. There appear to be no lessons, but only debates and trials dealing with the practical events of the school life and conducted under the presidency of an appointed leader. These occupy the greater portion of the day. The rest is occupied with riding and shooting on the campus. As Xenophon puts it, the Persians send their children to school that they may learn righteousness, as we do that they may learn letters. Some of the notable virtues on which special emphasis was laid in the scriptures, and which one might expect could not have failed to influence the life and character of the followers of the faith, may be noted. Righteousness, holiness. You know, people talk about religion's a private thing. It's like, well, don't force it on people, but certainly your connection to God and creation is something that you don't drop your regulations when you go out in public. Yeah, well, they, it's like, so they're not going to eat, they may eat differently or dress differently or something. So what? Why can't modern secular nations accept that as well? It's like, why stop telling the women what they can and can't wear? We don't want religious symbols. It's like, okay, well, clothes aren't a religious symbol, but come on. No religious symbols, that's a symbol of oppression. There are people of faiths other than the sort of thing I believe that carry things because they believe in amulets. They believe in charms. They're they're allowed such freedom. Holy righteousness. Holiness or righteousness is a somewhat loose rendering of the Avestan term Asha. It gives but a faint idea of the original mythic and sublime conception of Asha as embodied in the Gathas. In those hymns, Asha is a profound spiritual truth, or a spiritual law in accordance with which the universe has been fashioned and governed. All the earthly phenomena are to be traced to Asha. Man must obey this great law, for it is Asha that will lead him into the presence of Ahura Mazda. Asha is thus a very comprehensive term in Zoroastrian ethics. It signifies order, symmetry, discipline, harmony, and includes all sorts of acts of purity, truthfulness, and beneficence. The very first prayer that a Zoroastrian child is taught to recite is the aphorism Ashem Vahu, which runs as under: righteousness is the best of gifts, and divine happiness, happiness to him who lives for the sake of best righteousness. From order and discipline proceeds righteousness, from disorder and discord unrighteousness. Asha includes order. Druj, the opposite of Asha, signifies disorder. To uphold Asha at all times and in all circumstances is a duty enjoined on a true Zoroastrian. In fact, all religious teachings begin with this alpha and omega of the creed. It is the eternal variety, the one reality, which is the mainspring of all manifestation. Philologists have shown that phonetically this word Asha in the Avesta is identical with the ancient Vedic word Rita. And in Chinese, there's Ren. The phonetic identity is, however, not so important as the striking identity of concept. Rita has exactly the same significance as Asha, showing that this one fundamental concept of the progress heavenwards is a common law to the philosophy of all Indo-Iranian peoples. It is this law, this path of Asha, Ashahe Pantao, or Rita, Ritasya Pantha, by which man may hope to reach the Father in heaven. None of the family language like that's literal, but think of the Tewaz rune. And Tewaz is one of the three chief qualities of divinity in the culture of my ancestors. The ones that use the runes, the English and the Germans and the Norse, the Austrian Germans, we can call them the Celts, and the people of the UK region and different, and anyways, I'm going to go into that. I am on the side of those who preserve order, not on that of those who create disorder, says Ahura Mazda in the Hum Yasht. There is but one path. We are warned in the Yasna, the path of Asha. All other paths are false paths. What reward awaits the man who treads this path is exquisitely indicated in the following verse of the Hush Bam, the dawn hymn. O Ahura Mazda, grant that through the Besh Asha, through the most perfect Asha, we may catch sight of thee, we may approach thee, and may be united with thee. Thus Asha, purity, leading from boldly health and vigor to mental and spiritual health depth and strength. It is the most sublime elaboration of the conception of cleanliness being next to godliness. Not only is the cleanliness next to godliness, but it is also in itself a form of godliness. Man pleases Ahura Mazda by practicing truth. Let us reach to the paths of truthfulness, wherein abides Ahura Mazda through his holiness. Praise a devout Zoroastrian. It is said in Gatha Ustavati, who shows the beneficial paths of truthfulness in this corporeal world, wherein is the abode of Ahura Mazda, attains supreme good fortune. Many a classical author refers with approbation to the systematic manner in which the virtue of truthfulness was cultivated among the ancient Iranians, beginning from the age of 5 years to 20, said Herodotus. They instruct their sons in 3 things only: to ride, to shoot with the bow, and to speak the truth. To tell a lie, says the same author, is considered by them the greatest disgrace, next to that to be in debt. And this for many other reasons, but especially because they think that one who is in debt must of necessity tell lies. And think of the symbol for my channel, that on the left being consciousness, and the deeds being shown by the symbol on the right, and the colors representing the weak and such, Justice. Justice, according to the Avesta, goes with truthfulness. Hence, Arshtat or Ashtad. The Yazata who preside over truthfulness is often an associate of Vrashnu, the Yazata presiding over justice. On the judgment day, the 4th day after death, when the soul of the deceased is judged by Meher Devar, that dispenser of justice is helped in his work by Arshtat and Rashnu. In his daily prayers, Zoroastrian invokes Rashnu in these words. And remember what Kurash, Cyrus the Great, said, is they think they worship the angels, but they really worship the Devas. We invoke the truthfully spoken word. We invoke the righteous obedience. We invoke noble righteousness. We invoke the words which impart manliness. We invoke the victory-giving peace. We invoke truth which brings about prosperity to the world and benefit to the world, and which is the Mazda Yasnan religion. We invoke the most truthful Rashnu. So, perhaps only the invoking of the angel would have been added to that one. Visparad, Volume 7, 1 and 2. A truly uttered speech, it is said in the Sarash Yast Hadakt, is the most victorious in assembly, declaring the true evidence and justice are pleasing to God. Perhaps the words make mention of. Some of this language is kind of translated to make it seem like they're worshiping everything, but they're really just making mention of it. Is most victorious in the assembly, declaring the true evidence and justice are pleasing to God. The Gathas exhort the devotee to cultivate the virtue of impartiality and justice. Fight your cause by fair means, even with your enemies. See, none of this. Well, they do it, is another injunction. So great is the estimation in which justice is held that a holy, just, and impartial judge is compared to Ahura Mazda and to the Amesha Spends, and an unjust judge to Ahriman and the Devas. So we definitely evoke these qualities, and we are supposed to become manifestations of one side or the other, of which we choose, of course. Similarity, good government, according to the Kerad is that which designs and directs that the city may be prosperous, its poor relieved from hardship, and which repels unjust laws and rules and promulgates laws and ordinances that are just and fair. The Meher Yasht begins with the following exhortation to be faithful to one's pledge. The man guilty of being untrue to his pledge is guilty of an act tantamount to injuring the whole country. Do not therefore break a plighted pact, be it made with an asho or darvand, for both are vows alike. It does not matter whether a pledge is given to a darvand or to one of your own ways. Similarly, the yasna insists on faithful discharge of one's debts, and all debts must be paid with true thought, true word, and true deed to the man to whom they are due. And even if there wasn't the doubt of, well, do we really know who is one of us, whether they're not being as open about it, or even when that's not an issue, definitely you got to be just to people. Chastity, of course, not to be confused with intentional lifelong celibacy, and not to say that it's not the chaste behavior, it's the physical chastity itself. Certainly there are victims that have no choice. And I'm not going all social justice warrior and overstating who victims are. I mean, one knows what I would mean. Actual rape, actual of any type, even if it's called indecent liberties or sexual assault or something like that. But I mean, the chaste choice, the choice to stay sexually pure, all one's sex acts within marriage. Sanctity of the wedded life is one of the virtues insisted upon in the religion of Zarathustra. It demands from husband and wife alike devotion to the good mind and holiest deeds of fidelity. What is heinous in women is equally loathsome in man. The Zoroastrian code of ethics thus places both the sexes on a level unparalleled in the history of the Asiatic people. To him, O Uchista, thou of the family of Chataspa and Spitama, youngest of Zarathustra's daughters, has he, the prophet, chosen as thy husband him who is devoted to the good mind, righteousness, and Mazda. Counsel then with him to the wisdom, and do with the good intent the holiest deeds of devotion. Unto maidens marrying I speak words of monition, and unto ye bridegrooms lay them to heart, wise with precepts. Strive for the life of the good mind, that the home life of each shall be happy. Yasna 53, verses 3 and 5. 3 and 5. What's verse 4 say? Or is it 3 to 5? But it's just 3, 5. The woman who keeps her feet constantly in the path of chastity is assigned the exalted rank of a Yazata, the righteous woman, rich in good thoughts, good words, and good deeds, well instructed and accomplished, obedient to her husband and chaste, and such as Armati devotion, the bounteous is, and such as other female Yazatas are. Ga 4:9. See, a good woman is like having an angel in one's home. Or if she's not in one's home, it's like an angel regardless. Compare this to what it says in Esther. The idea that Vashti, the good wife, when her drunken husband said, hey, you have a hot body, I want to show you off to my friends. It's like, I'm not wearing this sort of thing. I wear only in front. I'm not being like I'm only in front of you, in front of them. And it's like, oh, I need another wife who I can show off her hot body. It's like, and what? Bad story. But a good woman, regardless of what her husband says, is going to do the right thing. On the other hand, the woman who strays from that path is reprehended as worse than a viper or a she-wolf. There is no place for a courtesan in the social organization of the Zoroastrians. Her look dries up a third of the mighty flowing waters. Her look takes away a third of the growth of the blooming, beautiful, green-colored trees. Her look takes away a third of the verdure of the bountiful earth. Her touch takes away a third of the courage, victory, and truthfulness of a righteous person, of good thought, good words, good deeds. Therefore I say unto thee, O Spitama Zarathustra, that such a one is more deserving of death than gliding snakes, or howling wolves, or the prowling she-wolf that falls upon the fold, or the she-frog that rushes into the water with her thousandfold brood. Vendidad 18:63-65. So no place for the course on the social organization of the Zoroastrians, and then the quote. Self-help. As a practical religion, Zoroastrianism lays practical emphasis on self-help, industry, and dignity of labor. With self-help, one becomes independent. Yasna 9:25. I shall chase away sloth, which makes one lean. I shall chase away sloth, the long-handed. Vendidad 11:9. Arise, O men, praise the best purity, smite down the Dabas, otherwise the long-headed sloth, who lulls the whole material world to sleep, again will rush towards you as soon as the day breaks, and men are wide awake. O men, it does not behoove you to sleep for a long time. Vendidad 18:16. Eat of your own regular industry. Escherwad. No harm to the honest and the industrious living among the wicked. Yasna 19:6. So that would imply carefulness in war, just not kill everybody, because wait to see who's going to fight you, that sort of thing. Or, well, never, O Mazda, shall the deceitful lazy have a share of the good creed. Yasna 31:16. Whoso sows corn, kernels, sows righteousness. Creator of the material world, thou righteous one, what is the way for furthering the Mazda Yasnan religion? To this question, Ahura Mazda replies, incessant cultivation of corn, O Spitama Zarathustra. Whoso cultivates corn cultivates righteousness. He advances the Mazda Yasnan religion with 100 feet. He suckles the Mazda Yasnan religion with 1,000 breasts, and strengthens it with 10,000 offerings. So, see, we can have the symbolism of the 100 feet and the 1,000 breasts without without thinking of some goddess or god that's personified as such. In the words of the profound philosophical significance, the sage of Iran preached the gospel of work. Work is opposed to sloth. Industry is opposed to and as an antidote for destruction and degradation. Illness is the parent of want and shame. It invokes the demons of hunger and thirst, sickness and suffering, dependence and disease. Whoso does not till this earth with the left arm and the right, with the right arm and the left, then unto him says the earth, O thou who dost not till me with the left arm and the right, with the right arm and the left, verily shalt thou stand leaning at the door of the stranger among those that beg for food. The refuse indeed for thee will they bring as food, those who have profusion of good things. I see a lot of claims of charity that are bringing of the worst things that people have. The chief weapon with which one could have fought the fiends of hunger and the thirst in the days of Zarathustra was agriculture, the one important industry of the age, it is said in the Vendidad. Okay, I started vibrating the words, before I got to this, but anyways. When corn draws, the demons start in dismay. When the sprouts are out, when the demons cough, when the stalks are seen, the demons shed tears. When the ears are out, the demons take to their heels. In the houses where the corn is turned into flour, the demons are smitten. It seems as if it turned red-hot iron in their jaws. When corn is stored in plenty, care of the cattle. In words typical of the pastoral age, the prophet pays homage to the cow. Praise to the cow, good words to the cow, victory to the cow, food and pasture to the cow. Let us work for the kine, for they yield us our food. Yasna 20. Of course, respecting the cow. The cow isn't a god. But certainly, I guess people over time would have care for and maintenance of the gospend, innocent and useful domestic animals, such as cows, goats, sheep, and dogs, is a virtue specially inculcated by the prophet of Iran. May we be one in spirit with the Behman Ameshaspend of good mind, praise the devout Zoroastrian, who spreads peace in the midst of good creation. Animals of all kinds in the world are under his protection. Those from whom these animals get food, maintenance, and protection, and are well clothed, sufficient vesture clothes them. Well, certainly, if the angel of something is one with us, that doesn't mean we have to worship it to be one with us. It just means we're on the right path in that regard. But remember, ritual installs values. Whosoever wishes to propitiate Vahumana, the Amesha spend, presiding over a good mind, and over the animal creation. In this world in which is to act for his happiness is he who wishes to promote the things of Bahumana. It is necessary for him so that Bahumana may ever be with him, that he should perpetuate at every place and time the well-yielding cattle in whatever has happened and whatever occurs, and should act for their happiness. And in the terrible days of troubled times which befell them, he should afford them protection from the oppressive and idle. He should not give them as a bribe to a man who is a wicked tyrant, but should keep them in a pleasant and warm locality and place. And in summer he should provide them a store of straw and corn that is not necessary to keep them on the pastures in winter. So that it is not necessary to keep them on the pastures in winter. He should not drive them apart from their young, and should not put the young apart from their milk, since they are counterparts of him, Bahumana. In this world, the well-yielding cattle, whoever perpetuates those who are well-yielding cattle, his fame subsists in the world, and the splendor of Ahura Mazda becomes his own in the best existence. Shayast la Shayast 15, 9 through 11. Compassion. Compassion is mentioned as an attribute and crowning glory of the strong. The mightiest in the mightiest, becoming the throne monarch better than his crown, an attribute of God himself. Zarathustra asks Ahura Mazda, how are we to worship thee and thy Ameshaspenta? Lord Almighty replies, the case with the Amesha Spenta is different. He who desires to please Ahura Mazda in this world must desire to develop the creation of Ahura Mazda, it is necessary that the person to whom Ahura Mazda is attached should please the righteous by relieving suffering and protecting them from the evil-minded. Pahlavi, Revayat, attached to the Shayast, 15, 3, and 7. Charity. In the list of positive virtues which a follower of Zarathustra is expected to cultivate, charity takes the foremost place. It is one of the fundamental principles of the creed. He who gives succor to the helpless poor acknowledges the kingdom of God. Ahunavar. O Mazda, what is your kingdom? What is your will? By acting according to which I may come unto your friendship. Ahura Mazda replies, you will come unto my friendship by helping your poor fellow men who live righteously and with good mind. Gatha Ahunavad, Yasna 24:5. Ye Zoroastrian Mazda Yasnans, hold your hands and feet steady, relieve those who have fallen in distress. Visparad 15:1. Grant me a child that relieves distress. Atash Nyash, Yasna 625. Another invocation in the Yasna runs, may in this house generosity triumph over stinginess. It must, however, be judicious and discriminating charity. While it is meritorious to extend one's bounty towards deserving objects, it is reprehensible to extend it to those who are unworthy of it. Miserliness is reprobated. He who, though quite able, does not readily give in charity, shall go to destruction without attempting to avert it. He who is without charitable feeling in him, let torment freely come to him. There is no place for the selfish and the sordid in the Zoroastrian fraternity. The prayers and offerings of such persons are not acceptable to God. I will not accept, says Lord Almighty in the Abanyasht, the offerings proffered to me by wicked, cruel, selfish persons. Yeah, I don't think you can just overcome your... Okay, this last part. Promotion of education. Charity consists not merely in relieving distress and satisfying the physical wants of those around us, but in ministering to their intellectual, moral, and spiritual wants. The religious books of the Parsis therefore emphasize the duty of providing faculties for the education of all men and women, married or single, virtuous or vicious. It is especially meritorious act to help those who are in need of help to be educated. If men here come as co-religionists, our brethren or friends, to seek knowledge, let those who seek for knowledge be given that knowledge with holy words. Vendadad 4:44. He who desires the light of knowledge desires the gifts of an Athravan, spiritual teacher. He who desires for the fullness of knowledge